Welcome to Perspectives, a podcast by Essence Learning LLC, and a place where leaders learn from leaders. Let's join today's episode.
Hello, and welcome to another Perspectives podcast. I'm your host today, Kanetra Hights, and I'm so honored to be here to present our next podcast, which is Lessons Within Leadership is our topic that we're going to talk about today. And let me tell you, this is a great honor to be here, to be able to host this podcast as someone who is new to the leadership world, and I'm here to listen and to absorb from our three experts today. So for those of you who don't know and aren't listening, our three panelists have over a century of combined executive leadership experience, which is very impressive to me. So I'm here to absorb and take it all in because I'm sure I'm going to get some great nuggets of knowledge for us today. But before we jump into our conversation, I'm going to give the opportunity for our panelists to go ahead and introduce themselves and give us some insight to, introduce yourself, a little bit of your professional background, and how many years of leadership experience do you have? Valerie, you want to?
Wow. Yeah, how many years of leadership? That really starts to age you, right? After a while. So I'm Valerie Wilson. I'm CEO and founder of Essence Learning. And it's so exciting to be in this position because it really is a cumulative role that I'm now playing because of 45 years in corporate America. Started at a very young age and in a savings and loan, and we'll share more about that at the age of 19. And here I am now using all of those experiences to be able to lead Essence Learning. So thank you all again for the opportunity to be on this panel. This is an honor too as well.
And my name is Phyllis Williams. I served many years in corporate America as well, over 30 years in corporate America. And talking about over a century of experience, that's when you think about that.
That's
but
huge.
And I started at a very young age, of course. But most of that and all of that was in the human resources department. So I was a human resources professional. Did a lot of recruiting, all levels of position, worked with a lot of business units. And my last role was in diversity and inclusion. And so I have transitioned from corporate America now into consulting with Essence Learning. And so I get to continue doing what I love, and that's helping people work together.
All right. And last but not least, Mr. James Jacobs.
Hello, I'm James Jacobs. I'm the VFO of Word Family of Churches, and also I have about 35 years of business experience and entrepreneurship. And so I've been doing this. I learned from my dad. My dad was a business person, and I've learned a lot from him. But I've been at this for about 35 years, and just wanted to, to be an instrument to grow a business and also to give back to my community. And so I have a wealth of knowledge and experience in leading. I've been leading most of my life, and then for 35 years of business in the janitorial industry, and a little bit of real estate, selling cars, mobile homes. I've done just meeting people where they are and selling and just enjoying the journey. So that's kind of my experience.
Awesome. Great. A wealth of knowledge is what I'm calling today's room and panel. So I personally want to thank all three of you for everything that you've done to contribute, especially to what's important, to me, is contributing to the African American experience in leadership as well, and to paving the way for people like myself that we could get into those positions as well. So I couldn't not start this podcast without thanking you for your effort and your leadership on that as well.
That's really thoughtful.
So I know that each of you has successfully operated at high levels of leadership, both in the for-profit industries and nonprofit, corporate, like Valerie had mentioned as well. And so you have probably seen a lot of transitions that have occurred in the workplace because of that, and because of the array of the leadership positions that you've been in. And it may be transitions that pertain to age, gender, race, a lot is going on right now in the world of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which before it was not that way. Could you share with our audience today maybe one transition and a transitional experience that really stands out into your mind, and maybe that has played a part in how you've adapted into what you have done today, or maybe has shifted you as a leader, something that stands out for you?
Well, okay, I'll go. Since, when companies started going global, and going into other countries and learning different cultures, I think that's when I can remember a great shift. I mean, there's lots of other dimensions that happened throughout my career of 30 years. But I think one that really, as I think about it, when companies move in globally and was going into other countries and trying to learn cultures and take the American way of doing things over into another country, and found that didn't necessarily work. That did not reach that employee base that, when you were acquiring and merging and all of that kind of stuff. It was great that the global merging and working together was happening, but it really did take companies, American companies, and those that were coming from other countries into America to learn the culture before taking a business. And I know that a lot of those businesses failed. A lot of those mergers and those acquisitions did not go well, or did not continue, because that was just the cultures. That was such a clash in the culture that a lot of those businesses did not continue. One organization that I was with, we had to kind of regroup when we first went international with acquiring businesses, and kind of step back and regroup and really understand what their culture was about before we tried to impose the American culture, the company's culture on them.
Kiki, kind of thinking back to the first part of the segment when we were talking about how long we've been in the business. And so I said 19, so that makes it 47 years that I really have started in corporate America. And I started in a savings and loan at the age of 19 and worked quickly into the head teller role, and had 6 or 7 folks that were tellers, and we were responsible for the money, the vault, and all of those things that banking would do. Never had someone in front of me, and from a family or any type of leadership that I saw that played that role that I could emulate. So I think it was when I understood that I couldn't emulate the person that was before me, because they had a different race, they had a different gender, they had a different age. So they had a different access and opportunities that I did not know I didn't have, right? So I assumed walking into my role that I would have the same opportunities, access, and respect just by having that role. It wasn't until I realized that my age, my race, and my gender had a significant impact in the way that people allowed me to lead, the way I could influence people. And so I had to always consider those things as part of my leadership style and my approach. And so where others before me didn't have to consider that. They were white males, and they could just kind of walk in this space and didn't have to preface. They didn't have to prepare. They could just kind of come in. I had to do a lot to do that. And at the time, I thought, well, okay, that's okay. That's acceptable. I'm learning, I'm leading. And so it wasn't. And then again, I moved to Texas. I was in Ohio, moved to Texas, took on a leadership role at a very large organization, came in, as a young woman, where again, gender, age, and race became a real problem in terms of people accepting what I had to bring to the table. And so it wasn't, we weren't talking about age, race, and gender then. It was just, oppression. It was rejection. It was racism. It was all of those things that we didn't have names for, that we didn't talk about. How did I transition to that? Was that you understand that, okay, you're going to die on the vine or live on the vine. You're going to move forward and you become innovative. You become creative. You work within yourself and you draw from yourself and not expect people around you to create that path for you. Mm-hmm. And that's always been my way forward for all, so things happen. And I say, oh, gosh, this has happened to me. What's my way forward? I don't really say, I need somebody to help me do that. I need to have a role model. And so that has been my conditioning all of the years that I've had. So the question that I think you ask is, how do I adapt? I adapt by going inward and really thinking through, if I had all resources, if I had all opportunities, what would that look like? Identify that, and then I go, okay, these are the resources and opportunities I'm going to go after.
Right.
And I create that path. Instead of saying, oh, they're not available to me, I'm going, well, they're going to be. So that may be more work, but I think that to your acknowledgement to us as leaders in this space, we've done that. We've created that path so that folks behind us can say, I now see that there's an opportunity and access because these folks who've been in this space for 40 years, 30 years, 35 years have created that. So we appreciate you saying that, but I think that's what we've all had to kind of go through when we recognize that those barriers are there. And you have to stop and say, okay, I can't let this barrier stop me. What is it? What is it I need? And I got to go get it. I can't wait on somebody to come and get it for me.
I think piggybacking what you said, one of the keys is have that residual power to be able to bounce back and to be able to maintain that drive and that hunger, because you got success in front of you. I think you have to constantly paint a picture of where you want to go that keeps you moving forward. I know one of the major transition experience I had when I came to Texas, that was a major transition. Yeah. Because we was in Washington State, very successful in business, and built a large congregation, and time to move to Texas. When I had a rude awakening when I came to Texas, when you run into the different race and different prejudice and all the problems you have that people in power, you might think who you are, but the people in power control the strings. So you have to learn how to connect with them in a different way, and perhaps have someone else to introduce you or open the door for you. But you walk in the door with confidence, and those are things. I think those are basics of you that got you there. I had to go back and pull on my experience that I had before I came to Texas to give me the strength to move forward. Because you can't deny the experience you have. You've been through some stuff. You know how to handle some stuff that's coming at you, in a different way. But you get calluses, you get stronger, you get wiser, you get better.
That's great. Success ahead of you.
You got to maintain. You got who you are and why you're here, because there's going to be some negative. That's a key to an entrepreneur. You got to have that drive and that passion to forge ahead no matter what, because you got a vision, you got a purpose, you got a dream, and how you can't ride on how you feel, but how you feel doesn't help you dream.
I love that.
It calls you to overcome those challenges that you face in life. And so
right.
That's kind of because I had people come right and look at my face, say, "Hey, where you get the money? What you doing here? How'd you?" Shut you down. People that shut you down in all kinds of ways. But like the word they use in the church world, I'm just looking for my yes. That no don't bother me. I gotta get somewhere.
Well, I love that you said you have success in front of you, and that's kind of the motivator. I love that.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is that all three of you mentioned that one of the things that have made it transitional for you is this culture shift, right? So you all mentioned a version of a different type of culture shift, and we're experiencing another culture shift.
Yes,
I'm like, in 10 years, where am I going to be sitting at the table and I'm going to say, this is something that's impacted me, right? And so we're all really experiencing a culture shift right now. And I kind of want to head that way and talk about the big three: diversity, equity, and inclusion, which leads to a lot of the culture shift. How have you seen it change over the workplace or impacted the workplace in the last couple of years? Because it's really, after George Floyd, it became a organizational household brand. DEI, we have to get the experts in here and so forth, but this work has been going on for a long time, but just without any recognition. And so how have you seen that change from your point of view in these throughout the workplace in years?
I'll jump on that one first. I think if you had asked me that question 2 years ago, I would have answered it a little differently, maybe 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I was feeling a lot more optimistic about the impact that D&I was having in the workplace. Back then, I thought that at least we were becoming more aware. We were recognizing the gaps. We were understanding that we had to put things in place to address them. People were committed to that and excited about it, either through education, through action, through civil support, any of those things, whatever that organization was doing. So I saw movement. I saw people coming together around that. But I think that it was now, I believe, based upon what has happened in our country and the divides that we now see, I don't think that I really appreciated how deep that divide really was. And so now I think the impact in the workplace is the workplaces are divided. And I think, because the same people that are in our communities, that are in our neighborhoods, are actually in our workplaces. And so those same folks that are there and are in our workplace, and they're divided. So I think that the awareness is there. I think that the things that happened when I said we're 3 years, people are aware. There are people who have been committed to it. Now I understand that there are people who have not been committed to it.
Right.
And so the work now is to really find out which ones are on the bubble and which ones you can impact, and then make some hard decisions about how we're going to manage those who aren't willing to support diversity, equity, inclusion in its concepts, in the idea that we all have rights to access, we all have voices. So I think the workplace itself now has to adapt to civil rights things that they didn't have to probably 3 years ago. Talk about political issues that we didn't have to 3 years ago, 5 years ago. We used to just say, hey, the business case for diversity, equity, inclusion is profitability and all those things. And now that's changing to the community is expecting you to be corporate citizens out there and be responsible in those spaces and to our communities, have statements that support our communities. And so it's just a different approach than we came into this. So I think the divide is a good thing for us to see it. I think the work is a lot deeper and broader than I think we came into it 5 years ago. And we were just talking about, we were saying, hey, we've been saying for 10 years, you need to get diversified, you need to be inclusive, you need to put a strategy in place. I think organizations that don't have a strategy around diversity, equity, and inclusion right now are going to be those organizations that suffer in the next 3 to 5 years with getting good talent, managing, to our communities. And they're just not going to have what it takes to succeed in this new environment that's here. So, I would have been answering, we're ready to go. We've got organizations on place. Most of our organizations are on point. And now I see that we've got a lot of organizations that are divided and not able to move forward because they're paralyzed with that division.
I would totally agree with that. There has been the awareness, as you say, 2 or 3 years ago. I think that now people are looking at it with a different lens, right? And so where we were trying to be as cohesive as a group as possible, now people are okay voicing their opinions if they totally disagree or they don't think that they want to be in this space. And to what you said, I truly believe those that are resisting and those that are not coming on board with this, that they are going to be the ones that are left behind, and their organizations are going to suffer because our demographics are changing. And so when I know my kids are, going into the workplace, they're looking for someone that they can emulate, as to what you said earlier, and that will, that's going to make a space for them. And if they don't see that, then they're not going. And so to that end, the recruiting is going to be more difficult for organizations, and bringing in the top talent they're going to be losing, or they're not going to keep. So retention and all of that is going to be an issue for organizations. So truly agree with everything that you said, Valerie.
Someone asked the question of the day, what happened when your opportunity turns into a challenge? And when I look at the equity and diversity, we had an opportunity, but now it's turned into a challenge.
Excellent point.
I think what needs to be done is really, what we failed to do is redefine and reimagine what that looks like. What happened at the beginning of what it looks like was one way, but then we went into this challenge. So when you run into a challenge, you got to redefine. You got to redefine what it's all about, because sometimes people might look at it in this season and say it was a handout. But now we qualify. We know what we're doing now. So you're going to have to redefine the definition of what it looks like in order to force us forward. Because, if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to be getting what we got. I think like anything, we have to learn how to redefine, reimagine where we are to move forward. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what's going on in the world today. People are redefining things. I talk about leadership. People have different versions of leadership. When I look at a leader, it's one way, but then the world looks at another, because there's certain things they would accept as a leader. And I'm saying, no, that's not a leader. You know what I'm saying? But they redefined it. They redefined it and got an audience to celebrate it, and then it becomes a reality. So I think that's what we have to do.
I love that.
Yeah, I had to write that down. What happens when your opportunity turns into a challenge? Which is so true about that field, and I'm sure lots of others as well. But we have to redefine what diversity looks like and reimagine it because of the progress.
It's so unfortunate that we have missed the opportunity, because we were in a sweet spot for so many years in which we could have really made a huge impact towards success, right? And to his point, to Mr. Jacobs' point, we got a little relaxed. And we got a little bit comfortable and complacent. And now that it has been redefined, we're all trying to figure out what that looks like and what's our way forward. So I think that it's even work within the workplace is redefining it and then executing on that, where it moves us to a place. So not just defining diversity, equity, inclusion, but where are we trying to go now? Where are we trying to go with diversity, equity, inclusion? So I think the whole construct, we've missed the opportunity, and we now have got to readjust. So another transition, as you said.
Yeah, and we definitely gonna have to rethink, because also looking at who's defining it too. Who is defining it? But that's why it's so important now, because other folks will give you their definition of it, but no, that's not what you want. But we look at the one, we need the definition that pushes us forward.
Right.
That challenges us, that calls us to reach for something. to see the end game, to see not only you got to have when you get there, that's another door that's open so you can go farther than where you are. But otherwise, they'll put a limit. They'll put an end to what? No, you don't want an end. You want a continuation of this.
That's right.
Continuation will grow and things can happen for the next generation and next generation. I tell people, Jesus came through 40 and 2 generations. We want this thing to go 40 and 2 generations.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's a great transition because, you're talking about you wanting this to continue and to go on. And we have a slew of new and younger leaders coming in. And I'm going to mention a drastic word, which is retirement.
We definitely can't go by this group.
But in this group, y'all are retiring. So
we're not that.
You're fighting the statistic. But, according to a study in Forbes that recently happened, about 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day, and that's a huge chunk of leadership, right? And so now you have millennials who are coming in and they're slowly compromising and becoming more than 50% of the workforce right now. And not only that, they're moving into significant leadership roles, VPs, senior VPs, even C-suite positions as well. And so what are your thoughts about the future of America's workforce? Because James, when you talk about moving forward, and we have to continue to move forward, and you have the younger workforce taking that and moving forward with it, what are your thoughts on that and your thoughts on the future of America's workforce?
Well, I think, just like I said before, the definition of that retirement, because you have to look at the person might be older, but that's the wisdom law. How do we follow this? How do we use this to our advantage? One of the things that you have to learn, you cannot have real success or achievement by yourself. And I fight with that too, because you're an entrepreneur, you thought of yourself, but you can't, going forward, you cannot operate like that. You have to come in with a team concept. You got to come in with other folks on your team for you to be successful at what you're trying to do. Because I tell people right now, because I'm in that mentoring stage of coaching, and hey, you got to start this thing early, and then you got to have the mentality of you're not going to be here forever, so you have to pass it on. So it's a lot that I think this is a great opportunity for even the young millennials to realize the vast knowledge that is there and how do we follow it. You don't have to do it the same way, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You might be missing something here that we got the scars. You don't have to have the scars. Part of the things that I try to teach you, I made a lot of mistakes, but it's the mistakes I made that I don't want you to make.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I think those things, having that conversation with the young people on the job and connecting with them in another way, because you got to connect with your people more. That you can't just tell them and communicate. You got to connect with them in a way that can influence their lives. And I think that's the way forward, to really work on how do I connect with people and build relationships that is going to be successful in the long term. And it's a change of mindset. And I had to do that, being transparent. I had to do it myself, because I tell the guy I'm mentoring right now, don't do it like I did it, because I did it wrong. You need to apply it right now, situations to move the things forward. Because at the end of the day, it's about results more than anything else.
Yeah.
Mm.
I kind of think, Kiki, as you ponder on this question a little bit, and you start talking about trends, and it's been changing. We were a generation that, from a baby boomer perspective, the traditionalists thought, oh my gosh, who are these people and what are they doing? And so every generation thinks the new generation coming in is radical, right? So, oh my,
something's wrong.
Yeah, what's wrong with what's wrong with these young folks? And So we ended up being okay, and I think that they're going to be okay.
Mhm.
Yes.
My concern is what we're leaving them to work with. And my concern is, are we leaving them with the wisdom, the resources, the tools, the motivation, the aspirations, the why should I continue down this road? Even why is this fight necessary? Why is this success necessary? Why is this needed? I don't think that we have done the best job. And I think there's things that we could do that we could share with this new American workforce, the why, because again, they are dealing with things that we didn't have. We didn't have to deal with the politics in our workplace. We left that at the door. We didn't have to deal with emotions, everything from when we were, leave it at the door.
Yeah.
If you got problems at home, that don't come into the workplace. If you have political views, we don't talk about that in the workplace. If you have, a difference of opinion, you don't bring that in the workplace. This is the way we work. This is our vision. This got to be your vision. We had directives. And we followed along. We now have this collaborative, innovative workplace that I don't know that we've given or that we have the resources, the support. And so when you talk about mentoring, oftentimes we as baby boomers or even the older, Gen Xers have to be mentored to what James Jacobs was saying on, I did that wrong. I didn't even know that existed. You guys are now talking out loud and saying things that we would dare think about at home. You say things to your boss, you call them by their first name. There's just things, protocols and things like that. I don't know that we've given them the tools and the resources to succeed in the environment that they're in right now. I think that this new America workforce is going to have to do what we did when we walked into the workplace. When I said I walked into the workplace, there was nobody for me to emulate. When I walked into the workplace, race, age, and gender was a problem for me. I think that as a population of a generation of people are going to have those same types of challenges in front of them. To the point that we were making about opportunities turned into challenges, I think the opportunity that we had 5-10 years ago now, and that we are now still hanging around trying to be mentors, this is our opportunity. If we don't do it now, and when they get into those leadership roles, they will be challenged. And then I think corporate America, again, will be struggling. But I think this is that prime time for us. We're still young in our vibrant. We're still so hopefully, we are taking this role seriously, and we're coaching and we're mentoring and we're learning and we're changing our thought process, and we're being more vulnerable and allowing this, because I think otherwise this is our opportunity now. It will become a challenge for them if we don't give them the resources and the tools.
I agree. Good discussion.
Well, one of the things that I feel that is important to me right now is legacy, the word legacy. I think about it quite a bit because I think is what I'm doing now going to be a legacy that I leave behind for other girls that look like me, right? And I would love to hear from you all, kind of as we're wrapping up our session today. What impact do you hope to leave or have hoped to have left behind from your work? You all have been in the industry for a while, and you have successful consulting organizations as well. What is that impact and that legacy that you hope to leave behind?
Well, I would say don't allow anyone or anything to stop you from going toward your goals and what you want to accomplish, and in the role that you're in, at the position, the company you're in, and if it's not there, don't be afraid to take a leap and to move to an organization where you will be able to thrive and to grow. When I was coming along, it was about being loyal to your employer, whether your employer was necessarily loyal to you, being loyal to your employer, working hard and waiting for those opportunities to come your way, but waiting for someone else to make that opportunity for you. And today I tell young ladies, don't wait for someone to identify what you can do. Tell them what you can do, or seek out what you can do to improve and to continue to grow and to learn. And if the opportunity is not being provided to you at the place where you are, then there are other companies that will take you and where you can thrive. And we were talking about operating at your max, or being able to contribute to your full potential, to find those organizations that support you in that right.
Yeah. I'm sorry you said that. That was because, the word loyalty, when we talk about company loyalty, one of the big things going on right now for millennials and Gen Z is that company can lay us off at any moment. So why should we be loyal to them if they're not going to be loyal to us as well? So I love that about going and making the most and finding your opportunity as well. James, what would be your impact?
I think my legacy would be that somebody's life would be improved and someone's inspired to be better. Example, I would be, a key to my leadership success to be an example of drive and faith and make things happen, just not just for myself, but for someone else. I want to give Miss Williams her props. She did a seminar for us years ago, and you helped me. You helped me to write my mission, my assignment in life. And that
awesome.
Seminar, you said, my assignment is to father the faith of others and the hope that they might receive eternal life. I never forgot that, and I wrote it down. That's my assignment.
That was awesome. I appreciate the opportunity to come.
And so I think that's the legacy that you leave with others. That leave the door open for opportunities. You leave an example. And one thing I do know, in a few years I've been around, that these young people, they'll make it. They're learning from us. Believe it or not, we do things just like our mom and dad did. And believe it or not, over time, because of that seed we planted, they're gonna do some things. And it might sound different, but it looks just like what we did it. So I think that's hope. And I think the legacy is to keep leaving an example and keep improving them. That's my personal vision. It's improve the lives of others. And I do that every day. The legacy is I was an example of faith. I was an example of drive, an example of passion. I was a man that used his residual power, had some bumps, but knew how to bounce back. So that's kind of the legacy I like.
I think, and thank you for that big shout out there. Because that was, at the beginning of Essence Learning when he invited me over to speak and share with his congregation. And it's good to see that they're still using what we saw. So I appreciate that. But I think that's part of the impact that I want to leave is that we all stay open for continuous learning. Yes. That's all, that if you stop learning, you stop living from all aspects in my perspective. I think that wherever you stop opening yourself up to learn is what's going to die, because you have to have that growth and that development and that nurturing. So I want to leave as with people that is essential to continually learn. And that's from experiences, people, wherever learning comes from. It comes from so many different places. So if you were to ask, that's really, to me, what Essence Learning is all about. Essence meaning the core of who you are, the origin, and then the core of who you are and what you learn about. So all of that is what, we hope to leave. And that's where it came from. So I think continuous learning is the impact I'd like to leave.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to conclude by saying, I think more than your legacy, what you've left us as well is actual physical pieces of information for us to utilize. I encourage our listeners. I know, James Jacobs, you have a book out, The Leadership Matrix 3.0, right? And so I feel that's a part of your legacy that you left behind. So we'll always have those words.
How can we get to that book?
Yes. How can we?
You can go to
How can we
go to
get
jamesjacob.org and order it, and you can go to Amazon. It's right there on Amazon. So go to our website, jamesjacob.org, and it's right there. You can order it, and then you can go to Amazon. It's right there, and you can pick it up and grab that book and learn to lead.
Leadership Matrix?
Leadership Matrix. And then, of course, Valerie and Phyllis are leaving behind their pieces of nuggets as well, with the work that they're doing for Essence Learning, with their courses on just great things about respect that are just unchangeable through time. We're always going to be in a place where we need to learn how to respect others and give respect no matter what. When you're born till you're leaving the earth. And so go to essencelearning.net and see what available pieces of nuggets they have left behind as well. And I'm sure that any three of them will be glad to reach out, be your keynote speakers for events and so forth, just so that you can have the opportunity to learn about their legacy and share these tidbits of information. So I want to thank all three of you. This has been a great conversation. Yes, I've written stuff down. I hope one day I'll make you all proud. So I just want to say that. And thank you so much for our listeners for joining our Perspectives podcast. And we hope that you join us for our next episode.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining Perspectives, a podcast by Essence Learning LLC. Essence Learning is your solution to personal and professional development. We partner with our clients to develop a learning strategy that will increase productivity, enhance performance, and align with their purpose and goals. For more information, visit us online at essencelearning.net or call us at 1-877-657-5755.